Fani Willis may have just been caught colluding with the White House and the Biden administration, as it has just come out that they planted an operative to get Trump out of the 2024 presidential elections. Now, President Trump, or former President Trump, he's going against a multitude of cases with what some argue borders on political prosecution. I also got a huge update for you guys on the Truckers for Trump movement that includes millions of truckers nationwide, and both President Joe Biden and former President Trump are zeroing in on the border crisis by actually visiting the border in Texas on the exact same day. So there's lots to unpack here, so it's definitely best that you stick around to the end. But before we get any further, guys, all I want to do is ask you guys to take 1 second, drop a quick like for the video. I totally appreciate you guys, and I just want to thank you guys so much for always sharing these videos. Totally helps out the channel. So let's get things started with the surprising revelation that the Biden administration supposedly planted a Democratic operative within the Fulton County office. Why? Well, because this operative is not a fan of President or former President Donald Trump and is actually out to get him removed from this year's 2024 presidential elections. Now, we can just say that this is all conspiracy theories and all, but it's been confirmed by an anonymous whistleblower that Jeff DiSantis is pulling all of the strings to bring Trump down. I can't even make this stuff up, guys. So don't confuse this guy with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, okay? This is a different guy. I don't think they're related. In fact, he spells his last name a little bit different. So Jeff DeSantis is Fulton County's deputy district attorney. So DeSantis is incredibly experienced and worked on Fani Willis's 2020 campaign. He's also the former executive director of the Democratic Party of Georgia and the deputy director of compliance for the DNC. Now, a source has confirmed that DeSantis was placed here to put a blockade in front of Trump and all of his aspirations for the White House in 2024. A lot of people are asking, well, why did they do that? Because the White House and President Joe Biden fully understand what's going up against Trump on level ground would have Republicans back in the Oval Office. Now, one key detail that this particular anonymous source cited was that Willis is not going to prosecute a former president without the go signal of the incumbent president, which makes it all the more probable that DeSantis was placed in this position by the Biden administration. So get this, he was also part of the transition team of Willis after she won in November 2020 and supposedly helped in selecting the employees for their new office. Now, this also opened up the possible conflict of interest with Nathan Wade because he was supposedly the guy who made hiring and firing decisions in their office. This would then change the timeline of Willis's and Wade's affair back to 2020 when DeSantis as a part of their group. And so this means that the three of them were already prepared to take Trump to court a year before their probe. Oh boy. So this opens up a lot of issues for Willis and a possible massive victory for Trump. Many analysts wonder, though, could this be considered as election interference from the Biden administration this time, though? That again would give Trump yet another win and another talking point that he could use against Biden if ever the two go head to head in November. Things are heating up, guys. Now, speaking of Trump victories, he recently won in Nikki Haley's home state of South Carolina. Now, some experts are saying that this was the nail in the coffin for Haley. However, she doesn't see it the same way. Nikki Haley says that despite losing her in her own home state, she's still going to be keeping it going, adding that there's more than 20 states and territories that have not spoken up. She says that it's her duty to keep fighting as the people of America deserve a real choice and liken Trump's recent victories to a Soviet-style election. Now, despite Nikki's recent streak of losses, it looks like some of her donors are still happy with what they're seeing here. Can't imagine why, though. So federal filings showed that Haley outraised Trump recently, and that in January alone, she raised $11.5 million. Now, I think like it really doesn't matter how much you raise. If you can't win, it's, doesn't even matter. But some explain, though, that this is due to Haley's getting donations from people that don't like Trump and even Democrats who don't want Biden to face him in the presidential elections. Interesting theory, huh? Now, you got to wonder why they're doing all this, right? President Joe Biden himself has said that he's the only guy that can beat Trump, but it sure looks like the tides are about to change, which now brings me to talk about blue-collar workers who are also in support of the former president. The International Brotherhood of Teamsters just shocked the Biden administration by donating $45,000 to the Republican National Committee. Can you believe that? This is the first time that they've donated to Republicans in years now. Now, as you guys may be aware of, Teamsters represents many different workers, one of which are truckers. And much like we've heard in New York City, there are rumors of nationwide boycotts if Trump continues to be politically prosecuted.
President Trump met with the Teamsters leadership yesterday in a bid to gain that union's endorsement, something Biden won back in 2020. After the meeting, Trump told reporters he thinks there's a good chance he will earn their support this time around.
We just had a meeting with the Teamsters, and one of the biggest problems they have is millions of people are pouring into the country. And that's a killer for the Teamsters, and I'm going to stop it. And that's why the Teamsters, I think, support me. Now, I don't know if the top people will support me. We're going to have to find that out. But within the union itself, I have tremendous support. Well, I don't know. I mean, they never do that. They never give it. But I felt that, yeah, I mean, we have a good shot, I think. They like what I do. They never had a better 4 years than they had during the Trump administration. I can say that for a lot of businesses and a lot of people, African American, Asian American, Hispanic American. They had the best 4 years they've ever had.
It's also worth noting that they donated the maximum allowable amount to the RNC after Trump's meeting with the Teamster leadership. And so this shows that they're obviously leaning toward voting for him. Put your money where your mouth is, as they say, right? Now, this would be a huge boost for Trump, as Teamsters represent around 1.3 million hardworking Americans. Americans that are tired of seeing taxpayer money being given to everyone overseas, everyone else in the entire world, but struggling Americans. The crisis at the border is something that has cost the American people millions of dollars. And while that pales in comparison to the billions of dollars that we've been sending to the Ukraine, it's still one issue that definitely needs to be faced. So President Joe Biden has repeatedly pointed to Congress, saying that he has no power to curb the influx of people. Yet, at the same time, he's also saying that he's accountable for closing the border through executive action. No matter what the situation is, though, we are expecting both Biden and Trump to make their case for the border once we reach the end of the year, which makes their trip to the borders that much more important, guys. Now, what many experts find interesting is that they're visiting it on the same day, the exact same day they're both going to be in Texas. So President Joe Biden is expected to show up and discuss the bipartisan border security arrangement. So Biden insists that Republicans have to stop playing politics and that more money is needed to take care of our borders. Trump's team on their end, they're saying that this political stunt from Biden is merely him trying to catch up to the former president's message when it comes to our border. The American people seem to be seeing the same thing, as a recent poll shows that 57% of registered voters believe that Trump would be able to secure our borders. Only 22% of them believe the same thing about President Joe Biden. So there's no denying that we're actually seeing this huge spike in illegal immigrants entering the country, mainly through Texas, Arizona, and California now. It's now at a point where the number of migrants that have entered the country illegally is higher than the population of around 36 states here at home. That's a scary number, guys. Now, on the topic of home, there was a recent scare at the home of Donald Trump Jr. and his family. A death threat was sent to his home via an envelope that contained white powdered substance. So this prompted men in hazmat suits to show up and analyze the entire situation, given that this is not the first time that this happened to him. As far as we know, the white powder that was found to be harmless, although it's kind of scary to think that this can happen this day and age. Trump Jr. on his end said that this is highly unacceptable, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican. So what are your thoughts on all this, guys? Many say that this could be a prank, while others allege that this could be political intimidation. As far as I'm concerned, I'm gonna continue to monitor the situation and keep you guys informed on what's really happening out here. So anyway, before I go, I wanna thank y'all for hanging out. Thanks for liking and sharing these videos. Appreciate y'all, and I'm gonna see you on the next one.